we are live. Welcome everyone tuning in to the hashtag Stories of Healing podcast, episode 15. Born in small town Utah, the youngest of 4 kids growing up on a dairy farm. As a teenager, he loved sports and being outdoors. In 2007, he married his college sweetheart Tara. 1 year later, while building their house, he was in a construction accident that broke his neck. His life changed that day as he became paralyzed from the chest down. He was scared, sad, and unsure what the future holds. When a nurse came into his hospital room, the nurse was holding a red pen and a calendar. She told him that any time you accomplish something you couldn't do yesterday, we'll write it down and call it a red letter day. He has taken that nurse's advice not only for recovering from a spinal cord injury, but also a life lesson. In his wheelchair life, he has accomplished so many amazing things. He has a hand cycle and rides long distance, plays wheelchair rugby, and is always hunting. Him and his wife Tara now have twin boys that are their whole life. He is a great dad and always playing with the boys. He has started to compile his life lessons and red letter days into a memoir and plans to have it published. What an incredible journey. Welcome, Rick WERRY. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Good job on the intro, man. Good job.
Thanks, man. I gotta do my best.
And I also must say, I read something on Facebook. I seen you were a producer of the year,
Yes,
or
yeah, in the city
voted best
here.
producer. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's amazing just how much support and fans and love, that are in the community. And, I'm gonna do my best to keep on putting music out there and supporting artists and, collaborating and networking with the community. And yeah, just so much love. So thank you.
You're welcome.
How you doing tonight, Rick?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to share my story. I'm doing good. Got a quiet house for once, and just ready to share my story.
Awesome, Rick. Awesome. All right. Well, before we share a story, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, the intro did it, but I'll say I'm a country boy. I grew up on a small dairy farm. Man, I was always just hardworking, and I like look at my boys and like they get ornery when they have to take the trash out, and I'm like, I
Uh,
had to milk cows twice a day. And I mean, yeah, I just like that's how I define myself. I'm just a country boy, and I love sports. You and I had that in common, and you'd think being in a wheelchair, sports would end, but like I'm in a group text with a bunch of my rugby friends down in Vegas, and my phone's blowing up about
no way.
practice this weekend. So we're going down to Vegas and we're gonna practice with them. So
That's incredible. Well, welcome, Rick, to our show tonight on episode 15. And, I'm really looking forward to hear your story and have the listeners tune in to hear your incredible journey and where you are today. So are you ready to dive in?
absolutely.
All right, Rick, what is a story of which brought you a life challenge or struggle?
Yeah, I mean my story, uh I'm reminded of it every day. I'm gonna turn to the side a little bit.
Mhm.
You can see my wheelchair. I'm a quadriplegic, meaning I'm paralyzed from my chest down. My hands are paralyzed. But let me tell you how I got here. Uh, I got to do the math in my head. I think it was 12 or 13 years ago. I was building my house.
Mhm.
Me and my wife were newlywed 1 year, and I got to framing up a wall on the floor, and got to the last stud framing that wall, and I used that nail gun to nail the board in, and I actually shot the nail into a knot in the wood, and that nail like went like that, kind of went crazy, and it landed in the web of my thumb.
Oh,
And I was trying to act tough with the people I was around. I'm like, oh, just pull it out, I'll be tough. So they did. I was with my buddy Zach, and he pulled that nail out. And as I was looking down at it, I went lightheaded. And, I told you earlier, I grew up on a dairy farm, so blood and mucus and afterbirth, all that stuff was common to me. But for some reason, looking down and just this little blood on my hand, I started to go lightheaded. And so in my brain, I thought that if I took a drink, I might get better. So I started walking across the floor, and I fell into a hole. I passed out while I was walking and fell into a hole in the floor. We had cut it out, but we hadn't built the stairs. So the hole was supposed to be for the stairs. And I tipped over that night and landed right on my head, and I broke my
No.
neck right here, about C6 vertebrae.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah, I mean, my life changed that day. I mean, just, you talk about two lives, and I do. I say I had two lives, my before the wheelchair life and my wheelchair life.
Wow. So what like sorry to hear that obviously, and it's incredible like that, like you had to go through such a thing at such a young age as well, and just building your own home. Like I couldn't only imagine. Like were you completely out? Like what would happen right after?
So yeah, I woke up down in the basement in a puddle of water. Now I'm coming up on my anniversary. It's I think it's in a few days, and it will have been 13 or 14. I'm not good with times, but 13 or 14 years. But I remember laying down in a puddle of water. It was cold, and I remember just shivering. And EMTs came and rushed
Wow.
me. And I remember the first kind of like inclination of being paralyzed was in the ambulance on my way to the first hospital. And I remember telling my friend Zach that I couldn't feel my legs. I didn't even think about my hands or arms, but I just, I was just like, I can't feel my legs, Zach. And I remember him saying to me, he said, everything's going to be okay. And I didn't know what okay was going to be.
Mm,
But now that I look back, I'm breathing, I'm living, I'm still alive. And
mm.
whatever my situation is, maybe I'll one day be walking again, but I'm okay.
Wow. That's powerful. When you're on the way on the hospital, like you couldn't feel your legs, like what were some of the thoughts going through your head?
Oh,
Like,
I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty rough question. I mean, I remember just
yeah.
trying not to think of the severity of it.
Mm,
Just I almost at first I'm like, yeah, this will pass.
mhm.
I'll whatever. And I guess I didn't shit, for lack of a better term, shit got real. I
Mm.
didn't like until I remember laying in the hospital bed, and I was like looking down at my arms, and they had like this is a couple, days, weeks later, and I had atrophied like fast, man. I was like this. I mean, I was tough. And I
Mhm.
looked down, and my arms were skinny, and just like I had lost a bunch of weight in a hurry. And
Wow.
like, this is serious.
Wow. Yeah, I'm feeling this. So when you were in the hospital and you're going through a little bit of like surgery, I assume surgery and different types of processes to get you better. Um, what were some of those, like, I guess you can say, steps towards that healing process? Like after you left the hospital, and or when you were in the hospital and you knew you were able to get out, and what was like that healing process? Like what were some of the things you had to do to kind of move forward?
Oh man, I remember like laying down and just like I guess I want to paint the picture first. Like I remember reaching up to scratch my nose, and my hand would just fall on my face because I didn't have that tricep muscle. It was paralyzed. And I just remember kind of being in a situation of just like, this is not good. This sucks, you know. Um, I was in a medically induced coma for quite a while, and then I guess what really helped me is going into a rehab unit. And what that is where they kind of try to put you in a normal room. You try to get your life to like what it's going to be like when you go home.
Mhm.
You still have nurses come in every day, and you still have, you go to PT and they try to train you, how to do as many things you can with your current situation.
Mhm.
So I remember a nurse came in, and she was just like she was a rehab nurse, so she was working with a lot of people, you know, brain injuries and everything. And she came in, like you read this in my intro, but she came in with a calendar and a red marker.
Mhm.
And up until this point, I was just like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And
Mhm.
she said to me, like she said, every time you can do something, even if it's little, anytime you can do something today that you couldn't do yesterday, we're going to write this down. We've got to like document our success. So she had a calendar and a red pen, and we would write things down like I pushed my wheelchair 50 meters. We would write things down like
Nice.
I was able to breathe on normal air without oxygen for a minute, or for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Just these small little things. But it changed my process, my thought process to
Mhm.
like, you have a new start at like ground zero, like
Mhm.
if you can think of like a baby learning to walk again, here I am like learning to do everything again and with a new challenge. Okay. So I had like people in my situation or, who weren't in my situation would take that for granted, walk
Mhm.
down to the hall and get a drink and walk back. But I had to like celebrate that small victory of being able to push my wheelchair that far, you
Wow.
know, take a sip of water and push your wheelchair back.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's incredible to think of just like the littlest things like that, and that, and if we're facing such challenges and barriers in life, and you get to those things, like how much you've accomplished, and that taking care of yourself in such a way, like Rick, that's a powerful story. And I can't wait to get more into later of our episode here to find out what you're doing today. But during this healing process and this time, so when you were you doing a lot of writing in this on the so in this journal, or this, was it like a handbook or a calendar?
Yeah, so I mean that calendar is probably I don't even know where. I mean we probably lost it, but
Yeah.
the thoughts, like the concept, I guess, is what stuck with me, not the little
Mm.
details. And so, like I know we want to get into this later, and I love bragging, but like, yeah, yeah, the concept of do something today that you couldn't do yesterday. I mean, we can anybody can benefit from that.
Mm.
Like I the other day I got invited to speak, motivational speak at my own boys. They're in first grade at their class because they
Nice.
were talking about heroes, and I told them about the game Guess Who. Have you ever played that, Team A?
Yes, man, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Just
So
bring it out. Let's talk
here's
about
the
it.
concept of Guess Who. Like
Right.
there's a board with a bunch of people, like 30 people with their pictures on it.
Okay.
And you draw a card of one of those people, and your teammates got the same thing on the other side.
Right.
You have to guess who's on that card.
Right.
The way you do that is like the process of elimination, right? So
Mm.
you might say, does your person have glasses? Oh, and they'll say, no, my person doesn't have glasses. So you flip down all those people without glasses, right? There's a there's a thought to this. I'm not just telling the story, but okay. So what I told these kids, my boys' class, is like we could do that to this class right now, and I could turn around. Your teacher could pick any one of you, and with the right amount of questions, I could figure it out. And um, uh, so what I'm getting at is to these kids is like, yeah, I might be special, I might have a story, but you know what? Like every one of you have that potential to be a hero, to be special, to accomplish great things. Like team A, there's only one of you. Like if I played Guess Who and you were in a crowd of 30 people, man, I could guess you with the right amount of questions. You're unique. You're special. So
Thank you for
I don't know if
sharing
I
that.
I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that was I like that you brought that game up. It's a great perspective on the concept that you're living, and what you went through. And no, I appreciate you taking the time to elaborate and bring that into detail. Um I wanted to say what, after, I guess, what happens next, like you're leaving the hospital, and what were some of the things that you did to keep yourself healthy during this healing process?
Yeah, for a while I didn't even think about that. There was a little while where I was just like in a spiraling, you know, moment. I honestly, there was moments where my I quote unquote will to live
Mhm.
was very low. One thing I think about a lot, and I hate sharing this story, but it's so much a part of who I am. I remember thinking I wanted to end it, and you guys all know what I'm talking about. I wanted to finish. Like I was my will to live was so low, so I thought about how to do that. I remember thinking my idea was to push myself, and I live in a neighborhood with a canal that goes through it. I remember thinking about if I could push myself up this hill into the canal, I was going to push myself in and end it. But I didn't realize, like, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't think I could push myself far enough. And so I remember uh, this concept, like, I had to build up stamina to get there. I had to work for a goal to push up this hill. And crazy enough, I remember, like thinking, oh, this is going to be the day. I said goodbye to my wife and started pushing. And I remember thinking, I hope I can get up this hill. This is a challenge to me. And so I'm pushing and pushing. And I got up to the top of the hill and looked back. And I realized that I had accomplished something that I couldn't do yesterday because
Mhm.
I had tried pushing up that hill and didn't make it. You know, I got up to that hill and that little accomplishment, that little spark, like that, like you accomplished something, Rick. It changed my way of thinking, and so I'm like, what else can I accomplish? So that day, instead of pushing myself into the canal, I pushed myself around the neighborhood in my wheelchair. I got home, and my wife was like out in the front door, and she had watched me wheel around the whole neighborhood. And she was so proud of me. She's like, reminded me of that nurse and that calendar and that concept of
Mhm.
accomplish something today that you couldn't do yesterday.
That's amazing. I love it. It's so cool how, that works. Like, we just sometimes want to give up, we want to let go, and you were trying to push yourself to the limits, and then all of a sudden you accomplish something, and then it just starts layering on more accomplishments and goals, and then you're like, oh, I want to do this now, I want to do this. And I'm speaking because I also saw your page, and been connecting, and I'm excited to get more into what you've accomplished over these years. And yeah, going more into the healing process, during that time when you were starting to realize that you're like, you know what, I'm able to do stuff. I'm able to do some things. I'm able to push myself and get some really awesome accomplishments done, just being here, and living and breathing. Um, were there negative things that try to weigh you down? And and if there was some negative things like environmental or energy or people or anything like that, how did you embrace your surroundings in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, I had these thoughts of negativity a lot. A lot of times I questioned whether it was a sense of worthiness. Like I wondered if I was worthy to have a miracle or worthy to like because so much of my mental focus was like I'm either going to walk again or nothing. Like,
Mm,
but I mean, I look back and that's silly, but I always thought like I was gonna, you know, and I haven't give up hope. One day I may and I will, I always thought that since its time has passed, is the reason why it's passed is that because I'm not worthy. And then like I've tried to like push that away, because I realize that's, negativity and I realized that whatever will be, like I can still like I can still run marathons from a wheelchair. I can still accomplish great things from a wheelchair and I need to separate like the miracle with like realizing the accomplishments in everyday life. Team A, I forever just uh, I would stop. Like I wouldn't put myself out there because I'm like, well, I'll get better and I'll do that when I'm better.
mm-hmm.
And like I look back and like I'm kind of embarrassed at some of the things that I wouldn't try or do because I was going to get better and I'd do that when I'm better. I remember eating at restaurants and my wife would like reach over with a fork and feed me my food because I hadn't learned how to hold a fork. And I look back and I'm like embarrassed of like I I don't know why I put so many things on hold because of something I didn't have control over.
Mm. Wow, I'm inspired with with your resilience and the way that you're able to just push yourself forward, over all these years. And to go through something like that is it's a very tough battle. It's one of the rock bottom in such a way that a lot of people don't understand. And but feeling your energy and seeing like your smile right now, and like you can see that you have passion in a lot of the things that you've accomplished. And when you had your accident and you were going into the healing process, trying to get it rid out of like that, I guess basically almost transition your mindset. It seems like your nurse really inspired you to motivate you to try things and accomplish those things each day, and kind of let go of like, okay, like this is me forever now, or what can I do now? What can I do to still fulfill my life, with what I have? And um, one of the questions that I was asking before we went away there, it was that what was the hardest thing to let go of that really helped push yourself forward towards like more healing, like bringing a lot more of healing into your life, physically, mentally, spiritually. Yeah.
I would say, I kind of led into it in our last before our intermission, but like the things that are out of my control, like it's really hard to like wish for a miracle every day and not get it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also like you can focus on the things that you can control. And what I mean by that is like those nights, do you ever have a lot of nights you can't sleep? For me, when I can't sleep, it's for two reasons. You've got the like pre-Christmas, like Christmas Eve, like you can't sleep because you're excited. I also have nights where I can't sleep because I'm thinking about my next move. Like what can I do to make things better? What can I do uh, to make my situation better? What can I do to make my mama proud of me? you know?
Mm,
Um, and so like, yeah, I mean the negativity for me was things that I can't control, you know, and you've got to let go of that. Like
mm,
whatever will be, I mean,
for,
yeah,
for
you can work hard. Like the way I explain a spinal cord injury to people, because like it's not about effort or work when you talk about like recovering function back. Okay, so like there's a light in my room, and this is just a science explanation of a spinal cord injury, Team A. So like
let's go.
there's a light in the room, but over here is a switch to that light.
Mhm.
Behind that wall is a cord that runs from that switch to the light. If you flip that switch on, the light turns on. With a spinal cord injury, you know, my spine was broke right here. So my brain telling my body to move, no matter how hard I try to wiggle my toes, the effort I put into it, like if this cord behind the wall is damaged and broke, you
Mm,
can flip that switch on as hard as you want, but it isn't gonna turn that light on. And
mm.
so like, effort still had to be there, but like it was frustrating, when you try as hard as you can to wiggle a toe, but it's just the connection's not there. It's not the effort.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. It's heavy, I think it's an incredible journey you went through, and I do like the way that you just put that scientific explanation into perspective. It makes great sense, and yeah. So moving forward, like what was the main thing that really allowed you to overcome your challenge or struggle? What was like that one thing deep inside your soul where you're like, you know what, this is why I want to overcome what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and I'm able to get up each day, and fulfill these accomplishments.
Yeah, I would say like this strong desire to not just my mom, but make my mama proud, like now my kids proud. And like I said, those nights when you can't sleep, and like I said, there's two nights for me that I can't sleep: the Christmas nights and the like, what's my next move? And I always have this desire to accomplish something that's going to make, somebody proud of me, my wife, my kids, my parents, the people around me. And I can tell you about one of my very first nights that happened to me. I was laying in bed, and I thought, where's the start from here? I was on disability. I didn't work. I would sit home and just really not have anything to do. Um, I remember laying in bed, and I decided to wake my wife up and tell her about my next idea. And it was go back to school and get a job. And I woke her up in the middle of the night and said, honey, I'm going to go back to school. And my brain wouldn't shut off because I had to think of the steps, like I got to do this. I got to do this to accomplish that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into school for this. And I think that's like if everyone has that, I mean, we all have that deep within ourselves, but how many people act upon that? I mean, I have this desire to write a book, and right now it's like it's killing me because it's not going very fast.
Mm,
But that's right now the things that that run in my brain. What's step one to write a book? Well, step one might be to build a following so that when you do write a book, um, people will buy it. Step one might be to find podcast hosts that are willing, like you, T May, to let me share my story, so I can refine what I want to say and, better tell my story in practice.
Thank you for sharing, Rick. And I think it's incredible that you have that desire and that you want to share your story and get it out there, and especially put all those accomplishments and the things that you want to continue doing into a book. And touching base with wanting to write a book, and I want to help you and I want to support you. I have a couple contacts and actually guests who are on my show. And you know what? I just wanted to throw a comment on the screen here, because when you were talking about how there's some nights where you can't sleep because you're thinking about, whether it's school or some of the things you wanted to accomplish the next day. So I have D. Moon here who commented on our show, and he says, that was me last night, and that I couldn't sleep because my mind was racing on how to improve things. I finally got out of bed at 4:30 and started working. So thank you, D. Moon,
Dude,
for
D,
sharing.
yeah.
Yeah, Diedrich. Yeah, he's amazing. He was on our show. Him and his daughter Haley. And you know what? I think you three should connect, because Rick, Diedrich and Haley are writing books. They're putting their story out there, and they know how to write books and publish books. So, and I also had Genesis Myers Kemp on my show as well. And shout out to Genesis as well. She
Yeah,
was
I
able
I
to.
listened to that episode.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah.
Yes. So you know what? We're gonna get you connected. Because Rick, I think it's important to share your story and your journey. Your battle is heavy, and you know to see where you are today, and the smile on your face and this energy, and just like where you're taking off with these accomplishments and some of the things you want to, it's incredible, man. Like, I'm inspired. It makes me realize, what, how special and sensitive and life is. Like, life is special, and we should be fulfilling each day to the fullest.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got some more comments here, Rick. So Diedrich said, everyone's journey is different with respect to the book writing journey. You just put your thoughts on paper. Start off journaling. If you like what you see, start moving into chapters. Nice. And then we have another one. He says, don't worry about the following. That can come later. Just start writing. Nice. I love it. Thank you, DJ D.
Yeah,
Moon, my boy.
yeah,
Thanks, brother. So yeah, Rick, there's support here in our community, and we're gonna help you get your book out there. But I think it is like, expressing and sharing and writing all those experiences and accomplishments and getting them out. Before we get to all the accomplishments, I have one solid heavy question I wanted to share. And if so, what would you do differently to overcome that accident, what you went through? What would you have done differently if you could think of anything that would have helped, I guess, change the mindset maybe sooner, or any perspectives that you had on your situation?
Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna start with a word, confidence. Like, there was so many times where uh, I wouldn't do something, or somebody would invite me to do something, and just wouldn't be confident that, like, I was a good situation for me. I'd say no to invites, and um, I would be scared of, like, the challenges that might happen. And I'm reminded by a story, teammate. I mean, I warned you I'd tell stories. Okay, so when I was in high school, I played baseball, and I this is my sophomore year. I got to play a little bit of varsity time. I was like kind of proud of this, And our team had this strategy, and this is in baseball. There's the cheating kind of cheating, like in the World Series last year, and there's the real cheating, like, so, like, if you're our team had this strategy, like if someone was on second base and could see the catcher's signs, they would, like let the batter know a fastball's coming or a curveball by saying their first name or last name. So for instance, if somebody's on second and they say Rick, good job, Rick, let's go, Rick. They knew that was the key that a fastball's coming. If they say, come on, Weary, that's the key that a curveball's coming.
Mm.
So I'm up to bat, right? And I'm like just shaking in my boots because, like I said, I'm a sophomore and haven't had a lot of at bats. Sitting up there at the plate, and my buddy Phil is on second, and he says, "Let's go, Rick. Come on, Rick." So to me, that's he was telling me that there's a fastball coming, and that like it just changed me, right? So I'm like thinking, I went from shaking in my boots to like, here I have this edge, right?
Right.
So I stepped up to the plate, fastball's coming, and I hit my first home run ever.
No way.
Yeah. So
Wow.
my first home run ever. I got home. I got around home plate, went to the dugout, and I remember being like, "Dude, thanks for tipping me off. You told me a fastball's coming." Well, Phil's like, "No, I was just cheering you on. I didn't know." So, but I'll tell you what the change was,
That's
teammate. It was the
awesome.
confidence.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
yeah, I mean, like I went up there with my boots shaking, and then all of a sudden now I learned I thought I had an edge. But how much of that edge was just mindset, right?
Mm.
So if I'd have attacked every like situation after my accident with that little confidence, of like, you can do it, man. You have an edge. Like you
Mm.
have these traits, talents, abilities to get through that. I mean, that's just like that word confidence comes to mind.
I love that story, Rick. That was incredible. I just guys cheering you on, and you're on edge, and you hit the home run, and he's like, "I was just cheering you on." I love it. That's it's amazing. And you're giving out some laughs to our boy Diedrich here. He was he was throwing out. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Rick. Like that's
Yeah.
I just love your energy, man. And it's amazing that no matter what in life, as human beings on this planet, we can face so many challenges and battles, but if we find it inside ourselves and find a purpose and, find a calling and, truly deep down inside, we all have worth. We all have purpose, and I love that you decided to focus on those desires and things that you wanted to accomplish, and you're just pushing yourself forward. And yeah, I'm very grateful to have you on our show tonight. And I wanted to ask, what is Rick doing today? What are some of the top three? Let's go with the top three things you've accomplished, over the years, and what is Rick doing today?
Well, I better be politically correct right here. I
Sure.
don't. You say accomplishments, and don't bring my sons up, my boys, my
Uh-oh.
family, and I'd be shot. So I bet like my boys coming into the world, like the challenges of being a dad
Mm,
are like, oh man, I love it. Like I
mm,
uh, I remember when I have twin boys. They're 7, and right now, man, they're into sports. Oh, they're so much fun. But I want to tell you a story of when they were born. Um, uh, my boy Berkeley come out, and um, the doctor was preparing us to say like, uh, baby 2 might need to be. We don't know, like baby 1, like the heartbeat and everything sound good, but sometimes the second baby is the struggle. So Grayson came out and he was quiet, and then a couple minutes later, Berkeley, well, I have minutes, I don't know, minute later, Berkeley came out and just started bawling, but like, this in my head, when a baby doesn't come out crying, you're like worried. So as
mm,
soon as Grayson heard Berkeley crying, it's like a competition. And from then on, like the twins, the competition is heavy around my house.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
we play basketball every day after they get home from school, and like yeah. So that's probably my number one accomplishment is my family and my boys and my wife.
It's amazing.
I'd say the next thing I'm most proud of is my hand cycle. I like to ride long distances, and I have this very addicting app on my phone. It's called Strava,
Okay.
and it tracks your mileage per hour, your distance, your average mile per hour, and I like to just when I'm like twice a week or sometime I like to ride about 10 miles, each ride, and I ride the same route every time, and that's good and bad because I know every inch of that route, and if I'm behind my best pace or like right on, I'm like always like I'm constantly in my head doing the math of like how fast I need to ride to beat my record. And I'm that way in every aspect of my hand cycle. I'm always trying to ride faster, longer, and stronger. Every year I've set a mileage goal,
Mm.
and last year, and this is partly due to coronavirus and not being able to travel and stuff. Last year my goal was 600 miles, and I ended up riding 1,000 because I just like that was the thing, like I had to. I mean, I just life hit and coronavirus, and so that'd be my escape. I'd go for a long bike ride.
That's so cool. Is the hand cycle where you're leaning back and do you go into a separate like unit, right? You go into a different it's like the one with the big wheel in the front and there's two in the back and it's a long cycle and
Yeah, yep. You pedal like this simultaneously. I have these things, the gloves
mhm.
that they have a bar, and you just clip them into the handlebars, and
Finger.
you pedal like this. Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Wow,
And my
1,000 miles.
Yeah, over the whole year. Yep, 1,000 miles. And
Incredible.
I like to put myself in situations where people will like look over at me and be like, "What the hell's that guy doing there?" So I signed up for this bike race this summer. It's called the Rooster Ride, and it
Nice.
wasn't. They didn't have like. I mean, again, I'm from a small town, and I'm like the only quadriplegic, but so I just signed up for this bike race for everybody else. Of course, I'll admit I was last and I can't compete against someone pedaling with their legs. But I just signed up and rode, and that ride it was 35 miles in one ride. So that was it was actually I signed up for 35 miles, but I had to cheat and go around this hill that I knew I couldn't get over. So I ended up riding 39 miles, and that's the longest distance I've ever ridden in one trip.
Wow. That's so cool though. Like you still passed the line. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah,
oh man.
I was like so far behind everybody that the cops had to like specially help me cross all the roads. Like they were just following me because they knew I was like so far behind. But like I was like, who else gets their own police escort?
For the race, yo, that's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's amazing, man. I love it. And so this wheelchair rugby, like I have to know what's like. I just you were sharing before. You guys just smashing each other. I need to hear this. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's actually invented sport for quadriplegics.
Okay.
And when they invented the sport, they called it murder ball. And so like they used there's a documentary on it. The documentary is called Murder Ball, but they couldn't get sponsors, I believe, with a name called Murder Ball. So they changed the sport to a sport called wheelchair rugby. And my best definition of this sport is like chess mixed with bumper cars because there's so much strategy and like, but yet, I mean, you're out there, you ram the hell out of each other. I mean, your chairs are armored. They're made to hit, and it's very much physical.
Mm.
Now, my favorite thing to do is go, like, we travel around, and of course, this last year they didn't have a season because of coronavirus, but you travel around and you go to tournaments. My favorite thing is to like sit at the opening of the gym and just watch people's reaction as they come in the gym and just hear these loud, like echoing crashes, and then like people get these stigmas of someone in a wheelchair playing sports, and that's like they're breaking everybody there just breaks the stereotypical disability because I mean we're still athletes and we still love that thrill of sporting and getting better. And I mean when you talk about getting better, my first time into the gym to play this sport, I played with the Salt Lake Scorpions, and they invited me to their first practice. And I'm just thinking, oh, a bunch of people with disabilities, I'll probably kick some butt. So we start out the practice with pushing a mile, 16 laps around the gym, and I remember this girl. It's a co-ed sport, and this girl, her name's Kendra, and she finished her 16 was I was on like 12. I was like getting smoked. I'm like, this ain't happening. I got to get better. And it's just like any other sport, Team A. I mean, you practice, you get better. And I told you earlier, I'm like, I'm antsy because my phone's blowing up right now. Of this weekend, we're traveling down to Vegas to practice with a bunch of my teammates, and I really look at them like almost like brothers. I mean, we're just like we're all we all have different stories, but every one of those guys could be on here, motivating. They could be on a motivational speaker. They could write books. They all have different stories, and they've all overcome.
Thank you for sharing, Rick. That's really cool. I love that you just you're able to just do that and play some rugby with the boys and just smashing each other. Like I just think that's so cool. Like, it doesn't matter what barriers or challenges, like you're still putting yourself in such a fun competitive environment. And it just shows that you have heart, and you just want to live life. You just want to get out there, and you want to you want to accomplish those things. So I think that's amazing. I think all those things are family, the rugby, the long distance cycling, like it's incredible. Rick, do you have any so do you have any future plans, aside from the book that we're going to definitely help you get out there, and I'm going to get you connected with the right people, but yeah, is there any other accomplishments that you have in mind?
I have one that's been haunting me for 3 years, and I'll tell you why. Now I can ride my bike the distance of a marathon.
Hmm.
I mean, I can do it. I know I can, but I have yet to do that. And this is what's cool is I've signed up for the Salt Lake Marathon, and I'll give you a little history. I signed up for the Salt Lake Marathon well, let's say 3 years ago, and it's in downtown Salt Lake, and I believe it's in April or May. I can't remember, but sometimes it snows. So I signed up, and I we went up there, stayed the night in a hotel. And this is 3 years ago, and my wife helped me get out the door at 4 o'clock because we had to be up there first. They start the hand cyclists first, and I got a text with a picture of the starting line, and there was an inch of snow. So they canceled it on me.
Oh,
Um, so what's cool is I'll tell you the cool part about that. And then last year, of course, they canceled it due to coronavirus. But if I can ride my bike 2 hours and 45 minutes in that 26 miles, then that's a Boston Marathon qualifier. And
wow.
that's my goal. I'd love to qualify for the Boston Marathon and ride in that. But I got to tell you, I still got to tell you that first year. So I was discouraged. I was mad because I was all geared up. I had carb loaded. I did everything
Oh,
right for this
yeah, yeah.
marathon, and we had that inch of snow. So I went back to the hotel, and my wife's still sleeping, and my kids got up and they wanted to go eat at Denny's, and I'm like, something's
Denny's.
wrong. I should be riding right now. And I
Yeah.
told my wife about it. Like I was discouraged and mad.
Mm.
Well, here's how cool my wife was is on our way home, she dropped me off 26 miles from our house, gave me no choice, and I rode
Whoa.
home.
Wow.
I rode the 26 miles that day and did my own marathon. And
Wow.
what was cool is my wife had my boys, like the finish line was our front doorstep, and my boys had strung toilet paper across. My wife and boys had made me a kind of a fake little, a medal of my own,
Wow.
and I rode the marathon that day. So
I'm inspired, Rick. That's amazing. Your family is incredible. Like this, your story, I just love it. Like, wow, that is so awesome. Your wife is like, no, you're gonna race your marathon. Here you go. Just
yeah,
like, wow,
there was no
that,
moping. I wanted to just
yeah,
mope, and she's like, "That's it. I'm dropping you off 26 miles from our house, and you're gonna do it."
wow, that's amazing support, and a lot of love. And I'm so happy for you, man, that you have that support and that family. And it's yeah, I'm proud of you, man. Like this is really cool. I'm inspired. I have some more comments here from Diedrich. We'll throw them on. He said, love what you said about mindset. That's a great analogy. That right there can go into your book. Great story. And then I think this one was regarding the snow, the snow on the the snow on the ground there.
I was
Um,
like, I think it probably would have been unsafe, but I'm like, let's ride anyways.
yeah. So so Rick, what are you doing? What are you doing today? What's some of your plans? You wanted to get into the Boston race with the book. You want to get into this book and get it out there. Do you have some plans that you want to do today?
Yeah, I've really been, about giving back. I always feel like, service is important, and sometimes I'm not able to go help my neighbor mow his lawn. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I feel like that's my way of giving back. I got another story for you. I hope we don't go over
yeah.
time, but uh,
Keep going. It's all good.
so my neighbor was moving, and he was moving in a house from one house to another, just in the neighborhood. And it was my duty in my church to um, call people and ask them to come help do service. And so I did that. I lined like five guys to come over to my friend's house to help him move from one house to the other. And I still felt like I hadn't done enough. And so I was moping at the back window, and I'm like, my wife just says, just go over there, even if you don't help, just go over there and just be with them. That'll be your service. And so as I'm wheeling my wheelchair over there, like all of a sudden they turn around and they were going to the other house. They were loaded and going from one house to the next. So I had to turn around and go to the other one. And that day, I decided, I was discouraged. I was like, well, maybe I just go home, and I finally just talked myself into going to the other house. And as I was going to the other house, I willed by my neighbor, this old guy. His name's Perry, and I just thought, maybe I'll just go visit with him instead. And so I went and visited with Perry, and we struck up a conversation that day. We became really good friends. And let me tell you what's really cool about Perry is like I was just visiting with him the other day. He's got a Fitbit, and he's like I walk 5 miles every day. And I like just I was discouraged because I couldn't help, and that was my service. But I realized that my service that day was to go visit with my buddy Perry. Perry's a dang cool guy. He told me his life story, and like what I learned that day is that to do service, that God doesn't need a able body. He just needs a willing body. Somebody willing to go do something. And the way I've found to serve other people is to motivate and speak. So I've really, to answer your question, I've really started trying to motivational speak, and
Mm.
I've done a lot of it for free. But I mean, it'd be cool one day to get on a bigger stage and to have more people hear my story.
Amen. Yeah, I feel you, Rick. And you know what? I believe that God has big plans for you. And I think if you continue focusing on your goals and wanting to get your story out there, but also motivate and help others, be the best versions of themselves and accomplish their goals. You know that, we have one life, and your story is full of inspiration, and I wanna connect you to the right people to get your book out there. I think that's important to share your story to the world. And I also think it's important that, we start helping you focus on some motivational speaking like that. This is amazing. And I support you. I'm here, whatever you need, whether it's music, whatever you got, whatever you need some branding, some marketing, I have you. I'm here to support you. And I just wanted to ask Rick if listeners tuning in, let's say there's someone young right now in the world who may be struggling with something, like maybe they just got in an accident, car accident, it could be anything, and they find out that they're in a wheelchair. Or maybe we have some young ones right now, they're in a wheelchair and they're already contemplating on life and some of the challenges and barriers that they're facing. What's some words of wisdom and some insight that you would be able to share to them right now to help them overcome these adversities?
Yeah, I, like I mentioned before, I'm like way into podcasts and stuff, and I saw this one the other day, and this guy like even made a little video about it, and he said that like we all remember the video game Mario playing as a kid, right? I mean, intro music you could play in your head, right?
Right.
Um, the reason Mario was so addicting to us is because it was a challenge. Now, if Mario were like just a grass path and you just ran across, man, you'd put the controller down after one time. He said. And the guy's name is Theo Vaughn. He's kind of a comedian, and he's probably vulgar at times too. But I love this little snippet. Is like the reason we liked Mario is because it was a challenge. Now, if you're out there listening and you're running through a challenge, just know that that's going to happen. I mean, everybody's got challenges. My challenges are going to be different than yours, but you're still going to have it. I mean that's what's important about life. Is like in Mario, you'd fall in that hole, or you'd miss the shell and it'd hit you. You couldn't wait to start back up again so you could get a little bit further, and you'd get a little bit further. Life is a series of challenges, and we can't pick the challenges, but we can pick the way we react to them.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you, Rick, for sharing. I love the Mario analogy, the perspective. So awesome. yeah, it's just it makes sense, and it's true. We're born to face challenges, and overcome, and that's who we are. And thank you so much, Rick, for sharing your story tonight. If anyone listening and tuning in that may be facing some of these challenges, if you are in a wheelchair or if you're just struggling and trying to find ways of how you can overcome some of your goals, connect with Rick. Rick, he's on Instagram here, Rick from Row. Monroe, we were talking about what the row was for. Rick from Row. I love it. So if anyone wants to connect with Rick, and Rick, you're an inspiration. I believe you're already a motivational speaker, just hearing your story tonight, and some of the things that you shared, I think are important, and they bring a lot of value and motivation into people's lives. And I believe you're
Thank
going to
you.
do I believe you're going to do amazing things, Rick. Keep on pushing forward. And I'm going to pray to God that you get in that Boston race. You deserve it, man. I believe you're
Thanks,
going to be there.
teammate.
And I want to know when you're there. I want to be watching. I want to know. I'm only about 6
Yeah.
hours, I think, from Boston too. So you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rick, I appreciate you taking the time to be on our show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to Rick's story. Rick, do you have any final words you want to share to the listeners?
No, I just wanted to thank you for this platform to let me share this safe space. Uh, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to know you and to share my story.
I'm grateful for you, Rick. I'm grateful that we are able to have you on our show tonight and to share your story of healing. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Diedrich, thank you for supporting and commenting and engaging in this conversation. Thank you, everyone. Shout out to D. Moon, my mom, Chantel. They're sending some love. We got some likes from Anita Ball, Jean Taillefer, and Chris Mattinson. So shout out, okay? Oh, we have another comment here. Last one. He says, I'm glad. Oh, yeah, we'll put on the thing. I wanted to throw this comment out here. Diedrich said, amen to a willing body, which is amazing because I love when you mention that. That's very powerful. And he also says, I'm glad to have tuned in. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Everyone, have a good night. And until next time. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.